Here we are, guys, back again. Hopefully we can find some targets today. Actually, today's going to be a little bit different. I'm not going to start off with going out gold detecting just for now. I want to answer a few questions. Hopefully we can answer some of them now, and I'll touch base on a few things to hopefully help some new operators out as well. And it wouldn't make sense if we didn't have Stumpy 2 in this shot, guys. So what we're going to do is just go through a few things, a few tips and tricks, and some things for new operators to take into account when they're first getting into gold detecting. So I'll take you guys down and we'll just go through a few of these things, and I'll show you exactly what I'm going to go through just down here, guys. Okay, so as you can see down here, we've got GP 3500 on the left, the bad boy GPX 4500, and then we've got the Minelab Equinox 800, Minelab Gold Monster 1000, Minelab GPZ 7000. We've got the 19-inch coil for the 7000. We have the D-Tech Ultimate 15-inch double D spiral wound coil. And also, you can see the D-Tech 8-inch double D on the 3500 as well. And for you guys that have been following me, you also know that I've got the 11-inch Elite Coiltek Elite, and also the 17x11 Coiltek Elite as well. And on there at the moment is the 14-inch Elite, which is, I guess, my favourite coil, because it's a bit of a mid-range coil. So what we're going to do is we're just going to go through some things with you guys, and mostly for beginners and new operators. I keep getting asked the question, if I'm just getting into gold detecting, which is a good detector for a beginner. Now it sort of comes down to a lot of things, and you guys will all know this as well, people that have been doing it for a long time. It comes down to budget. What can you afford in a machine? That'd be number one. Number two would be weight. If weight's a concern, if you need something that's a light machine, obviously the GPX and the GPZ's probably not going to be a detector you would go to if weight is a concern. The Gold Monster 1000 is a very, very light machine. You could go SDC 2300. They're a little bit lighter, but personally I keep getting asked this same question: what detector would be best for a beginner? Now, if budget is not a concern, you'd go straight to the top. You wouldn't worry about going something small. This is just me personally, and then working your way up. I'd go straight to GP series. So GPX, like GP 3500 is still an awesome machine. GPX 4500, still an awesome machine, very cost effective. Any of the GPX machines, GPX 5000, or you get GPZ 7000. Now, I want to discuss a few things about these machines too. Obviously I can, because I do training as well, and also having used these machines a lot of times over the years, I know what each machine's capable of, and using that machine for its advantage in the field is probably the best thing you can understand as well. If you're going for small gold, you need the most sensitivity possible, and that on the market at the moment would be the Gold Monster 1000. And if you're going for, if you don't care about sensitivity and you're going for depth, you want big gold, you would go for GPZ or the GPX series. Now, with the GPX series, from 4000 right up to 5000, so 4000, 4500, GPX 4800 and 5000, as they slowly increased up to 5000, what they done was they were increasing their soil timings, so they were getting better stability in certain soil timings, and also they were increasing how good the machine could find smaller gold. And that's pretty much the only differences, other than in the battery. The 3500, it's an awesome machine. The best thing about the 3500, it was obviously the last of the analog machines in the GP series, and then they went to the 4000, which was the digital one. But the best thing about the GP 3500 is it doesn't have all these other settings that the GPX does. So GPX is able to handle the grounds a little bit better, but the 3500, if you can get used to using that and master that, the main setting that we used on that is general, normal, or deep. It was always in that because they don't have those extra settings like enhance and sensitive extra, sensitive smooth, all of them sort of things. It's just got your basics like general, normal. It's got a few other ones on there. You've got your sensitive, which we hardly use sensitive much, but it's got salt, shallow and deep. So you had to get used to the grounds. Now, as the machines get better, technology gets better. We've got the GPZ just here, very smart machine. Its learning algorithms are pretty impressive. Now, with the GPX 4500, okay, you'll find ground noise. Now, I'm just giving this as a basic example. You'll find ground noise that's a defined signal. Even when you balance next to the hole, or next to that defined signal, and that ground noise is still in the ground, so it's telling us there's something there that we need to inspect. When we come across it with the GPZ, like I said, because it's a smart machine and it learns the grounds, these defined ground signals aren't there with the GPZ. GPZ seems to have a little bit more of a issue with tree roots. It finds more tree roots than the GPX. GPX still finds tree roots, but that's just something with the GPZ, and GPZ operators out there will know exactly what I'm talking about. The GPX will get false signals with charcoal. The GPZ, we haven't yet to get a false signal with charcoal. So the difference there is the GPX, you're going to be digging a little bit more ground noise unless you're in a really dull setting, and the GPZ is smart enough to know that that is ground noise in some instances. It still picks up ground noise, but it's a very smart machine. But personally, for any operators out there that are looking to get into gold detecting, if budget's not a concern and your primary target is gold, then you would be going to the GPX or the GPZ series. I wouldn't even bother with any other small machines. Now, in saying that, if you're going to have a arsenal of detectors, now the best thing, everyone's different, okay? So there's more than 100 ways of finding gold. The detector is only 10% of the equation. Now, I might get a few people saying that they don't believe that, but I still believe that the detector is only 10% of the equation, okay? It's everything else that we do to be able to get to those spots and find it. And now, there's no special sauce or secret ingredient to these machines. Minelab have put out their operation manuals, and it explains in them everything about the machines. Now, that's another question that I regularly get asked, and no doubt a lot of other people with YouTube channels, with gold channels, probably get asked the same question, and you see it floating around on the forums. It's been going on for many, many years. What setting should I use? GP 3500, there's no problem with me telling you right now that we switch it to general normal, or general deep. So general normal, and then your threshold's usually on about 130, and then the tone can be whatever tone you want, whatever tone you like, and then signal is just a little bit back past 12, and then volume, we always have that up on full, but it's pretty basic. All of those settings usually stay the same. Now, with the GPX 4500, we also get asked that same question: what settings should I be using? Now, it becomes a little bit more in depth with the GPX 4500 or the GPX series, because it's wrong. It'd be wrong of me to tell you to use one setting. That's just me personally. I don't use one setting in the detector. Now, for any operator out there that tells someone else that they should be running in this and they should be running in that, personally, they shouldn't be doing that. That's just my opinion, okay? I feel that, let's say that operator likes walking around all day with things quiet, and they may be losing depth because they've got their machine turned right down because it's handling the grounds, and that's all they use all of the time. That's good for them, but you need to be able to understand that these machines are made to be able to run different settings for different ground types, but ideally what you want to be able to do is you want to maximize your depth always. You want to try and maximize the depth, and also with the coil you want to utilize the coil for its intended purpose. So if you're looking for big gold deep, it doesn't make sense to have a small coil and running it in something like enhanced, which is a dull setting compared to general normal. Now if you're looking for big gold deep, you want to have a big coil and you want to be running it in the highest setting you can for big targets deep. So your small coil on the GPX, you're better off running it. So if you go to a small coil, already you're increasing the sensitivity because the coil size is getting smaller. Now it doesn't make sense to me, this is just the way I do it, it doesn't make sense to run a smaller coil with a big deep gold setting. Now depending on the vegetation, sometimes you have to do that because of the swing area. So like the ground coverage, you might need to run that small coil with a big deep setting. So if you've got a small coil which increases the sensitivity, why not utilize the settings in the machine to increase the sensitivity again to small gold? We know that we're going to walk out into the goldfields with a plan. We know we're going for small gold and we're going to have it in the most sensitive possible setting to find that gold. On the other side of the coin, if we've got the big coil on there, why would we have it in a really low, dull, sensitive setting when we're not maximising the efficiency of the detector? It does become challenging with the grounds, different ground types, when it becomes really highly magnetised, hot grounds. So it's that highly mineralised, you could stick a magnet on the ground and it'll pick up the small little hot rocks. That's how heavily mineralised some areas are. I could take you to an area right now with the Gold Monster, and I could show you with all of these machines with the Gold Monster, and Gold Monster operators will know that if I turn that on right now and held it next to Stumpy 2, that detector would overload. Okay, when we're talking about magnetite and ironstone, the richer it is, the closer to that it is, almost like steel. So it's very highly mineralised with ironstone. Now personally, I'd run the GPX if you've got the ability to have a couple of different detectors. Now you could use the GPZ7000 and the SDC 2300, perfect combination. Or you could use the GPZ7000 and the Gold Monster 1000, perfect combination. Or you could use the GPX 4500 or 5000 and the Gold Monster 1000, perfect combination. See what I'm getting at? The Gold Monster 1000 will find gold that the SDC 2300 can't find. The SDC 2300 will find gold that the GPX can't find. The SDC 2300 will find gold that the GP 3500 can't find, and it'll find gold that the GPZ can't find. All of these machines will find gold that each machine can't find. But being able to find a pair or a system that works for you, whether it's just using the GPX 4500, using a 14-inch Elite or a bigger coil, and then a small, really small coil, so then you're going to maximise your efficiency. You're going to get the smallest possible gold you can with that coil and that machine, and the biggest possible gold at depth with that coil. Now when you're looking at it, gets very in depth, even when you look at aerial magnetics, the size of the discs and that they have on the bottom of the helicopters. When you stick a coil on this machine that's 26 inches round, and people say that, oh, this is finding gold bigger and deeper than your 14-inch Elite coil, well, it makes sense. It should be able to. A coil that size should be able to find gold bigger and deeper. It's just logic. Okay, so when you start getting a bigger coil, obviously you should be able to find bigger gold deeper. It just makes sense. And same when you go down in size, like with this 14-inch Elite, for an example, let's say a 0.1 gram piece of gold at 3 inches deep, you can hear it. You can just hear it. Now that same piece of gold with the 11-inch Elite, exactly the same settings, you hear it more. It's more responsive, and that's just what it's about. But with this 14-inch Elite, it's, let's just say, a 2 gram nugget at let's say 14 inches deep, this will hear it. The 11-inch, it'd probably hear that, but do you get what I'm talking about? The bigger the gold at depth, this will find it where the 11-inch can't, and that's what it's about. But with the GPX series, okay, I've done hundreds of tests with all of these machines, but with the GPX series, okay, compared to the GPZ 7000, the advantage that we have with the GPZ is that's a very smart machine. The way the search pattern goes into the ground and the way the waveforms and all that run, its search pattern is just incredible. And with a couple of flicks of the switches on here with different settings, you pretty much, that coil there is a universal coil. It can find gold better than that, or not better. It can find gold the same as the 14-inch Elite, but with the flick of a switch, you can find small gold, really small gold. Like, it's a really sensitive machine for small gold as well. The difference between the two machines is I need to change my coils on the GPX 4500, whereas this thing here is a lot quicker. Its efficiency is just great because it doesn't pick up as much ground noise, so you're digging less ground noise than the GPX, and you flick a switch and change a few settings if you want to go a bit more sensitive to smaller gold, whereas we have to change coils on the GPX series. Now also with the 19-inch GPZ, again, it's finding awesome big targets deep, and even the sensitivity on that is quite impressive. So that's pretty much what it comes down to. And actually, I'll just quickly run over this. I'm pretty sure you guys have all seen that in operation on YouTube channels. The D-Tech Ultimate Spiral is just an awesome coil. Works great. We utilise that on the GP 3500. It just works so incredible on that. Now I'll tell you a bit about these two, okay? Some operators find it hard to use a GPX in general normal. Even with that double D Ultimate, in sort of mild grounds to hot, not quite hot grounds, but mild, anything from mild upwards, the Elite Monos, they get a little bit challenging. Now if you're an expert and you know your grounds and sounds, it's very easy to understand different sounds, and that's what it comes down to. Like I said, the detector's only 10% of the equation. Understanding grounds and sounds is very important. Now, the GP 3500 with the double D in, let's say, hot grounds, you'll run through there with no problems. You'll get a little bit of ground noise, but nowhere near as intense as a GPX. But it just takes time to get used to the increase in power. I guess you could say it's more juiced up. It's almost like a GP 3500 with a booster straight out of the box. So personally, if I had to pick between any of these machines for any new operator as a beginner, I would say like I said, it comes down to budget, guys. Like, I mean, I'd go straight to the GPZ, but GPX is cost effective. It's an awesome machine. It finds great gold, and I'm pretty sure you guys have seen some of the finds that I've done with that machine over the time on the YouTube channel. I didn't want to talk too much about everything else other than the detectors. Like I said, the detector is only 10% of the equation, but once you master the detector, it's all about grounds and sounds. So the more that you get out there and understand grounds, okay, get used to the different mineral concentrations and the way the grounds talk to you, the far better off you'll be. Okay guys, well that's just about it, because that's gone on for 20 minutes now of me just talking about these machines. But obviously, as you can see, I can pretty much talk about them because we've done a lot of testing with them. Actually, the Equinox 800, we'll be doing some tests with that one very soon. Done some tests the other night, and that's actually not our machine, that one. This machine was lent to me by a fella that I've never met before, and he just contacted me and said, can I do some tests and look after it for him for a month. So very happy with that. That's awesome. Great to get it here and give it some tests. Thanks very much, Stuart. Much appreciated. But like I said, guys, is the Gold Monster. You've all seen that little bad boy in action, no doubt, on a lot of YouTube channels. Awesome little machine. It's that sensitive, it'll pick up the iron in your blood when you run your hand over the coil. GPZ, I don't need to talk about that because you guys all know that's a pretty smart machine. GPX, you've seen that fine gold. GP3500, brilliant, absolute brilliant machine. Like I said, it's the last of the analogs, last of the analog machines, and I had a 3000 before the 3500 as well, and that machine there has found a lot of gold, and it handles the grounds really good with a double D coil. A 14-inch Elite on it, it's a little bit you get too much coil saturation, and yeah, the machine is not quite as good. The older machines were really good with double Ds. Mono, like 11-inch Elite on that, 11-inch mono, no worries at all. It just comes down to experience and understanding the grounds, like I said, and the more ground noise you dig, the more you'll get more experience. So don't be afraid when you're digging ground noise. Don't worry about it, because if it's a repeatable signal and it's defined signal, so it's a defined signal like a dig me up target, then don't feel bad when you dig it and it's nothing in the ground, because I'll tell you right now, if you dig 100 of them, there's nothing wrong with that, because the 101st time you dig one, it'll be gold. And if you're not digging ground noise, it means your machine's a bit dull, so it just takes time getting used to it. And don't be afraid to play around with your settings. That's how we all start, and that's how we all get good at it, is just practice. The two biggest things that I could advise with finding gold, and two most important things, and probably nearly 99% of operators will probably agree with me on this, is time and consistency. So the more time you can get out and the more consistent you are, the more gold you'll find. Okay, and don't worry if you get out 5 times and you don't find gold, because there's nothing wrong with that. I'll actually tell you a story of a guy who was detecting every second weekend for 2 years and he never found a piece of gold. On his next trip out, he found a 30-ounce nugget. So that just goes to show you, time, consistency, patience, persistence, all that stuff, it all adds up. And just get familiar with your machine, and I hope that sort of covers a little bit for you guys, and you can get out there, pick a machine and get into it. And if you need to know anything about any of these machines just here, just sing out, shoot through a comment, and I'll be happy to get back to you guys. If you need to know about depths or targets or responses or ground sounds, all that sort of stuff, geology, whatever, send it through a comment and I'll see what I can cover in a YouTube video for you guys. I've actually got a depth test coming up very soon for all of these machines, and we're going to put it through a depth test on 3 ounces, so hopefully that'll be pretty good, and it should cover a few things. And the best thing is listening for that sound, so Yeah, anyway, that's a little bit different than the normal episodes. Obviously I'm going to head out and see if I can find some gold now, and obviously I'm not going to leave these sitting down here on the ground, but I'll pack them up and I'll head out and see what we can find. I'll talk soon, guys. See ya. And if you made it this far, I thank you guys very much for tuning in. I probably won't get the video of me out detecting today on the end of this one, but I'll make me effort to try and get it in uploaded after it, whether it's the next day or whatever, but hopefully you guys can see some targets coming out of the ground in the next day. And again, thanks very much if you made it this far, and don't forget to hit that like, comment, shoot through a comment. I love talking to you guys. And if you're not subscribed, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you can see all these machines in action soon. Thanks guys, that's me done. See you later. Actually, before I pack up, guys, I just wanted to mention as well, with the new Coiltek Extreme coils for the SDC 2300. Now, a lot of operators will probably find that it's a lot different than using the small coil. And once again, don't complain about the bigger coils not finding smaller gold, because the coils are bigger, okay? It's not going to be like using the standard coil on the SDC because it's smaller. The bigger the coil you go, the less sensitivity it's going to have, but it's going to be finding bigger gold deeper, okay? So when you're not finding as many buckshots, it'll still find them, but you might not be finding as many. Don't worry about that, because I guarantee you keep using those extreme coils and you'll be finding gold that these things can find as well. Okay, and we all know SDCs are sensitive, they'll find gold that this can't, but now you guys with the SDC 2300s, with that bigger coil, with the bigger coils, it's going to be a whole new game changer. You guys are going to be killing it, okay? So just stick in there with that extreme coil, and I guarantee you guys will be having an awesome fun digging out those big nuggets. Talk soon, guys.